Do you need a blackjack team to make real money as a card counter? How do you form a blackjack team, and what's my personal opinion on playing as part of a team or as a solo card counter? I'm going to answer that in this video. A lot of people see 21 the movie, or they hear about the MIT blackjack team and then they think, well, that's what I need to do. I need to form a team. Or some of you know my story, which is that I started with a couple $1,000s and played a little bit on my own, but quickly joined up with some people and played primarily on teams for over 7 years. I won $600,000 myself, and the teams that I was a part of running won close to $4 million. So if that's your starting point, you can think, well, it's pretty obvious. I need to be a part of a team if I want to make real money as a card counter. Let me tell you a couple stories. About 4 years ago at one of our Blackjack Apprenticeship boot camps, I met a young card counter named Joe. And Joe had a $5,000 bankroll. He had a lot of time on his hands, and he was really eager to make it as a card counter. He had a few flaws in his game. We cleaned him up. A year later, I hear from him that he'd grown his $5,000 bankroll to over $500,000 completely on his own, playing blackjack not as part of a team, but just solo around the country. Since then, Joe has doubled his profits again as a solo card counter. Here's another story. Yesterday, I was getting coffee with a guy who goes by the name of Yoshi. Now, Yoshi started with only $3,000, and he told me that in the last 2 years, he's made 7 figures as a solo card counter. So this isn't just like what we were able to do 15 years ago. These are recent solo card counters that, honestly, these guys have made more money than I did playing as part of a team. So is it better on your own or as part of a team? Well, I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but first let me talk about what the benefits are of being a part of a blackjack team. The first reason to be a part of a team is pooled resources. This was a huge benefit to me. Like I said, I started with $2,000, I grew it to about $4,000, and then I knew another card counter named Ben, and he had $7,000. We were able to put our money together and have an $11,000 bankroll. Basically, we leveraged each other's money so that we could each bet more, so we could each make more. We made money off of betting the other person's money and off the other person playing with our money. However, pooling resources isn't always a good decision because you're now financially tied to someone else. Do they have the same skill level as you? Are they going to make decisions the same way you do? Do you really want to be financially tied to someone else or be able to make decisions the way you want to with your own money? The second reason why you might want to be part of a team is because it makes the long run shorter. What does that mean? Well, on my first couple of teams, there would be points where I was losing, maybe for a month I'm losing, but fortunately the other 2 people I played with were both winning. So as a team, everybody made a profit. Well, fast forward a few months and then I was winning while other players might not have been, but we were able to overcome the law of large numbers a lot faster by having, we'll say, 3 people playing 100 hours a month rather than it taking 3 months to get to that same long run. The flip side is you're gonna overcome the law of large numbers anyway on your own. Maybe it's gonna take a little bit longer to get there by yourself rather than with other players, but if you're putting in at least some regular hours, you're gonna get to the long run and overcome the law of large numbers at least within a year, if not much, much shorter. The third benefit of being a part of a team is camaraderie. So the bottom line is that card counting can be a lonely endeavor. But with technology, this has gotten a lot easier than it was 15 years ago. When I got into card counting, we have a forum with over 700 members, and that's a place where people find community, where they can network, where they can just have someone to talk to. And any pro that I know has created a good network of APs that they can talk to, whether they're a part of a team or not. I know for the church team, the larger team that I ran, this was a big deal. We had a private Twitter feed where you could just be like, hey, walking into the Bellagio, wish me luck. Or you could say, up 17,000 last night or down 30,000 last night, or whatever. It was just a place where you could have other people that have your back and know that you're out there in the trenches day after day. The fourth reason why you might want to be a part of a team, and this is honestly, I think, why most people think they need a team, is team play. So this is where you've got spotters betting small and a big player that bets big. And honestly, many of my fondest memories of playing blackjack on a team are using this, where the pit boss has no idea what's going on because we're using subterfuge. I'll share some of those stories with you another time, but the reality is that team play was a very small part of what our teams did. And there are reasons why. there are inefficiencies with it. 95% of what our teams did was going out and playing solo, but then being able to enjoy the joint bankroll, getting to the long run faster, and the camaraderie of being a part of a team. And you don't need those things to beat Blackjack. So hopefully I laid out the pros and cons to forming a team, but how do you really decide which is best for you? Well, let me go back to those stories I said before. The reality is, my buddy Joe or Yoshi, actually the 4 or 5 most profitable card counters that I know right now are all playing solo. Does that mean a team is bad? No, there's great benefits to a team. Do you need to be part of a team? Absolutely not. So when you're trying to decide solo versus being a part of a team, here's my advice. First off, consider what your goals are. Is your goal to just be on the road playing by yourself as much as possible? Is your goal for this to just be a hobby where you have the freedom to not play for a month or to play a little bit more when you have more time? That might determine whether you should do it on your own or try to form a team. Also consider how you work best. Do you prefer to kind of fly solo and do things the way you want and how you want to do them? Or do you like to be part of a group of people that come to decisions together? Finally, do you have a close friend or someone that would be a good fit? Now, it could work out really well where joining up with them brings kind of the motivation and the training opportunities and just the camaraderie that you're looking for, or it could be a strain on that relationship. And I really encourage you to take the time to think through, is it going to be a good fit or not to team up with them? If there's someone who's a perfect fit, you can test the waters with forming a team with them. Otherwise, there's no reason to think you can't have as much success as Yoshi or Joe or the Phoenix or Tommy Highland playing with your own bankroll as a card counter crushing the casinos.